Welcome to A Lasting Legacy. I'm Michael. Today, we pause to remember extraordinary legends who are no longer with us. Their passion, talent, and dedication inspired millions worldwide. Join us as we honor their journeys across film, music, and culture, celebrating lives that will forever inspire future generations. Luthier Doug Irwin, who passed away at the age of 76, is remembered as one of the most respected custom guitar builders of his era. His work stood at the intersection of precision and artistry, where each instrument reflected not just skill, but a deep personal connection to music. Irwin approached guitar making with patience and care, shaping wood and sound into something that felt alive in the hands of musicians. A creative partnership in music, Irwin's legacy is closely tied to his collaboration with Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead. Together, they brought to life some of the most iconic guitars in rock history, including Wolf and Tiger. These instruments became more than tools. They were extensions of Garcia's musical voice, helping define the sound of countless live performances that fans still celebrate today. Instruments with character. What set Irwin apart was his ability to give each guitar its own identity. His creations combined technical excellence with artistic detail, resulting in instruments that musicians felt connected to on a deeper level. Players often spoke about not just the sound, but the emotional presence his guitars carried on stage, something rare and hard to replicate. Lasting influence. Even today, Doug Irwin's influence continues to resonate. His guitars are still played, admired, and studied by musicians and builders alike. Beyond the instruments themselves, his approach to craftsmanship inspires a new generation to see guitar making as both a science and an art. Through every note played on his creations, his legacy quietly lives on. 20 years ago, the music world quietly said goodbye to June Pointer at just 52. Her voice had been part of something much bigger, the legendary The Pointer Sisters, a family act that helped shape the sound of pop, R&B, and dance music through the 1970s and 80s. Their music wasn't just popular, it became part of everyday life, playing in cars, homes, and crowded dance floors across the world. June brought a unique spark to songs that still feel vibrant today. Tracks like Fire, He's So Shy, Jump for My Love, and I'm So Excited. Each one carried an energy that made people move without thinking, capturing a sense of joy that still resonates decades later. Her voice blended seamlessly with her sisters, yet it always had a personality of its own, warm, expressive, and full of life. Behind that success, though, was a more personal journey. Life in the spotlight can be demanding, and the pressures of fame often continue long after the applause fades. June's story reminds us that even the brightest stages come with challenges unseen by the audience. Her passing marked the end of an era, but not the end of her impact. The music lives on, and so does the feeling it created. A reminder of how one voice, carried through time, can still make the world feel a little more alive. Artist Melvin Edwards passed away at his home in Baltimore at the age of 88, leaving behind a remarkable legacy in modern art. Known for his quiet yet powerful presence, Edwards spent decades shaping a unique voice in sculpture. His work stood apart for its ability to communicate deep emotion through solid industrial materials. Over the years, he earned recognition not only for his craftsmanship, but also for the thoughtful stories embedded in each piece. His passing marks the end of an era, but his influence continues to resonate across generations of artists and viewers alike. Art shaped from metal and meaning Edwards became widely respected for transforming everyday industrial objects into expressive works of art, using materials like barbed wire, chains, and discarded metal fragments. He created sculptures that carried both physical weight and emotional depth. His most well-known series, Lynch Fragments, explored themes of struggle, resilience, and identity. Through raw textures and carefully assembled forms, his work reflected difficult chapters of history while also emphasizing endurance and strength. Each piece invited viewers to pause, reflect, and find meaning within the complexity of its structure. A lasting cultural impact. Beyond his individual works, Edwards helped redefine what sculpture could represent. He showed that art could hold memory, history, and emotion all at once, even through the hardest materials. His creations continue to be studied and admired for their depth and honesty. Today, his legacy lives on in galleries, classrooms, and conversations about art and culture. More importantly, his work reminds us that even fragmented pieces can come together to tell stories that endure, connecting past experiences with present understanding. Tom Netto, a former Major League Baseball catcher and widely respected coach, passed away at the age of 65 after suffering a heart attack. His journey in baseball began in the 1980s, where he built a reputation as a reliable and thoughtful presence behind the plate. Known for his calm demeanor and sharp game awareness, Netto earned the trust of teammates and coaches alike. He wasn't the flashiest player on the field, but his consistency and understanding of the game made him an essential part of every team he played for. Career highlights and legacy. One of the most memorable moments of Netto's playing career came in 1987 when he contributed to the Minnesota Twins World Series victory. That achievement stood as a defining highlight and a source of pride throughout his life. After retiring as a player, Netto stayed deeply connected to baseball, transitioning into coaching roles with the New York Yankees and New York Mets. Over the years, he became known for mentoring young players, sharing his experience, and helping shape future talent. Remembering Tom Netto beyond statistics and titles, Netto will be remembered for his dedication, humility, and love for the game. His influence reached far beyond the field, leaving a lasting impression on the baseball community. There's a woman whose face has defined beauty for an entire generation, whose presence has sold countless magazine covers and captivated audiences worldwide: Angelina Jolie. To the world, she appeared almost untouchable. Striking features, undeniable talent, and a life that seemed carved out of cinematic perfection. But beneath the surface, far from the polished images and red carpets, existed a far more complex and human story. Her life has not been a straight path of success, but a series of battles, some public, many deeply private. Behind the admiration lay years of emotional struggle, health challenges, and personal sacrifices that rarely made headlines in full. Her journey forces us to reconsider what we associate with beauty and success. It reveals how someone can be admired by millions and still feel deeply alone, how strength often grows quietly in the shadows, and how survival can sometimes be the greatest achievement of all. A heathood marked by absence. Angelina's story begins not with fame, but with loss. Her father, John Voight, left when she was still a baby, creating a void that shaped much of her early life. Growing up in Los Angeles with her mother, Marceline Bertrand, she witnessed both resilience and quiet struggle. Her mother worked tirelessly to provide stability, often sacrificing her own ambitions to raise Angelina and her brother. Despite her efforts, the absence of a father figure lingered like an unspoken question. Childhood for Angelina wasn't carefree. It was marked by emotional confusion and a sense of abandonment. she couldn't yet articulate. Financial instability added another layer of stress, as the family moved frequently and lived modestly. These early experiences shaped her understanding of relationships, trust, and identity. They planted seeds of insecurity that would later surface in more visible ways, influencing how she saw herself and how she connected with others. Feeling like an outsider. School years brought little relief. At Beverly Hills High School, surrounded by wealth and social expectations, Angelina struggled to fit in. Her appearance, so widely celebrated later, became a source of insecurity. She felt different, awkward, and often excluded. While others seemed to move effortlessly through social circles, she stood on the edges, unsure of where she belonged. Adolescence is challenging for most people, but for Angelina, it amplified her internal struggles. She became increasingly withdrawn, grappling with self-image and identity. The gap between how she felt and how others perceived her only widened over time. These years left a lasting impression, reinforcing the belief that she was somehow out of place. It's a reminder that even those who later embody confidence can begin their journey feeling deeply uncertain, shaped by moments of rejection that linger far longer than we expect. Struggles beneath the surface. As she moved into her teenage years, Angelina began to cope with emotional pain in unhealthy ways. She later spoke openly about her struggles with self-harm, describing it as a misguided attempt to feel control during overwhelming moments. These experiences were not about seeking attention, but about managing feelings she didn't yet know how to process. With time and support, she began to move away from those patterns, though the emotional scars remained. Therapy and creative outlets became important steps toward healing, even if progress was slow. Her openness about this chapter of her life has since helped many others feel less alone in their own struggles. It also highlights an important truth. Recovery is rarely linear, and growth often comes through confronting the most difficult parts of ourselves. Finding purpose. Through acting became both an escape and a form of expression. At the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute, Angelina began to channel her emotions into performance, discovering a sense of purpose she hadn't felt before. Early roles were modest, but they allowed her to explore different identities and step outside her own experiences. Her breakthrough came with films like Gia and Girl Interrupted, where her performances were praised for their depth and intensity. These roles resonated because they carried a sense of authenticity. She wasn't just abonné, acting. She was drawing from real emotional experiences. Recognition followed, including major awards, but success also brought new pressures. Fame amplified scrutiny, and every action was analyzed. Still, acting gave her a voice and a platform, transforming her struggles into something meaningful and creative. A turning point. Motherhood. A profound shift occurred when Angelina adopted her first child, Maddox, during a visit to Cambodia. This moment marked the beginning of a new chapter, one defined by responsibility and purpose beyond herself. Motherhood grounded her in ways nothing else had. It gave her a reason to prioritize stability, to make healthier choices, and to rethink her path. Over time, her family grew to include children from different parts of the world, creating a home that reflected diversity and compassion. Motherhood didn't erase her past struggles, but it reframed them. It encouraged her to focus outward, to build something lasting and meaningful. This transformation also influenced her humanitarian work, as she became more deeply involved in global issues, affecting children and families. Love, partnership, and public scrutiny. Her relationship with Brad Pitt became one of the most talked about partnerships in Hollywood. Together, they built a family and collaborated on humanitarian efforts, capturing global attention. For years, they were seen as a symbol of modern partnership, balancing careers, parenting, and advocacy. However, life under constant public scrutiny added pressure. Every decision, every moment, became part of a larger narrative shaped by media and public opinion. While their relationship had genuine connection and shared goals, it also faced challenges that were difficult to navigate in such a visible way. Their eventual separation reminded the world that even the most admired relationships are not immune to strain. It highlighted the complexity of maintaining personal connections in an environment where privacy is nearly impossible. Health battles and difficult choices. Angelina's health journey brought another layer of complexity to her life. After discovering she carried a genetic risk for cancer, she made the difficult decision to undergo preventive surgeries, including a double mastectomy. By speaking openly about her choices, she sparked global conversations about women's health and preventive care. These decisions were not easy. They involved both physical and emotional challenges. They changed how she experienced her own body and required immense resilience. Yet, they also demonstrated her commitment to taking control of her health and future. Her willingness to share her experience helped others make informed decisions and seek medical guidance. It was a powerful example of turning a personal challenge into a broader source of awareness and support. Loss, growth, and reconciliation. The loss of her mother was one of the most defining moments in Angelina's life. It brought profound grief, but also a shift in perspective. Over time, it led to a reconciliation with her father, John Voight, after years of estrangement. Their renewed connection wasn't perfect, but it represented a step toward healing. Loss often forces reflection, and for Angelina, it became an opportunity to reconsider relationships and priorities. It reminded her of the importance of forgiveness and the limited time we have with the people in our lives. These experiences shaped her outlook, influencing both her personal decisions and her broader humanitarian work. Life in the present today, Angelina Jolie lives a quieter life compared to her earlier years in the spotlight. She continues to work in film, often focusing on directing and meaningful storytelling. Her children are growing up and beginning to carve out their own paths, marking another transition in her life. While she remains a public figure, she has shifted her focus toward privacy, family, and purposeful work. Challenges still exist: legal matters, health considerations, and the natural changes that come with time. But her perspective has evolved. She no longer seems driven by the need for validation or constant visibility. Instead, her life reflects a search for balance and authenticity. A story of resilience. Angelina Jolie's journey is not one of perfection but of persistence. It's a story shaped by hardship, transformation, and the ongoing effort to grow. She has faced emotional struggles, public scrutiny, health challenges, and personal loss, yet continues to move forward. Her life reminds us that strength is not about avoiding difficulty, but about navigating it with courage. It also shows that identity is not fixed. It evolves through experience, reflection, and choice. In the end, her story is less about fame and more about resilience, the quiet determination to keep going, to rebuild, and to find meaning even in the most difficult moments.